everybody. Welcome to episode 308 of FloWrestling Radio Live. I'm your host, Christian Piles. Joined as always by my mainest man, Willie Saylor. To my left, Kyle Brackey. To my right, my right-hand man, the wrestling nomad, Daniel Roy Lobdell Jr. II. We're all in the mix. We're fired up to be here. We're using government names. And, yeah, we're ready to go. And we got a little bit of spicy drama in the college wrestling world. Last year, our spicy drama was the Soriano saga. Where is he going? Is he gone? Is he going to go to Rutgers, Penn State? What's happening? Haven't had much drama yet, but then comes out Mike Zadick terminated by Iowa State. It was like the super former Iowa. The song's playing. That's interesting. There we go. So really crazy situation. You know, Dresser goes from Tech to Iowa State. He brings his staff with him, plus Brent Metcalf. And, you know, they're kind of still in the midst of the early stages of the rebuild. And now one of their, you know, main cogs of that coaching staff now gone.
Yeah. It's kind of odd to me in the sense that, you know, there was reports or rumors or something that, you know, when Zadick left Iowa, that maybe he wasn't all into the recruiting thing or something, or maybe he just wasn't into it in general. But so I thought, you know, when it first came out and there were rumors about it anyway that Zadick was out at Iowa State, I thought, maybe he's just not into it as much. But then, you know, you find out, you know, he's running the room, and it was like, man, something like significant had to happen. If he's running the room and running the practices, it had to be pretty significant. I thought that Zadick handled it well yesterday when he came out with his statement. He wasn't too critical. He stood by his actions, stood by his words. But it sounds like it was a difference of opinion. It sounds like a difference of philosophy, right, Christian?
Well, that's kind of what Zadick was implying, that like basically me bringing up these issues caused me to get fired. But reality, it's a little more complicated than that. Without getting into every particular detail, there was a phone conversation overheard. Speakerphones were involved, and you can't be talking a certain way about your boss, and if your boss hears it, it may not go well, and it didn't end well, right? So I think with that, I think there were probably issues bubbling to begin with, because I think if that happens one time, okay, that's not good, let's address it. To me, this suggests there was trouble for a while, and that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. And then there's speculation what happened after that, but that would be... Why did you have Kevin Dresser on speakerphone and then call Zadick and say, how do you feel about Kevin Dresser? Why did you do that? I did not do that. That's approximately what... No, that's not what happened, but kind of like that, yeah.
Well, it's sort of sad for me. I liked seeing Zadick on the staff. I thought they had a great staff. I think they do have a great staff. But, you know, it just doesn't work out when you have, especially in today's climate where, like, college coaches, the coaching staff has evolved. Now the head coaches, a lot of head coaches are CEOs of the program, right? So if Kevin Dresser is going to be in that role, and your top assistant is going to be the guy that runs practices or whatever, you know, more hands-on with the kids, clear roles have to be defined, and you have to be on the same page, right? It doesn't sound like they were on the same page.
No, it doesn't. It's crazy when you think about, man, this guy, first of all, Mike Zadick was making $175,000 a year, right?
It's good coin.
Crazy money.
I'll be applying for that job.
Yep. Bracky's already thrown his hat in the ring.
He has his resume already drawn up.
Oh, yeah. It's ready to go from when I applied at West Virginia.
We'll see if We'll see if Iowa State handles this with a little more class than West Virginia.
Yeah.
Who notified you didn't get the job after announcing Tim Flynn is hired. A classless act, frankly. But, you know, to have that, to be one, in charge of the room, in charge of the training, you know, in many ways, you're the head coach of a large portion of the program, right? Like Dresser's, you know, he's delegating, whatever you want to call it. He's not in there in the room because he says, hey, this guy's probably better equipped to do that in the first place. So you would think if Zadick had that trust that I don't think this was something about running the room, right? Because that's the role he put him in. So whatever happened is I can't believe Zadick would not be able to salvage it or not be desperate to make it work in some way. And after a year, it's just poof, gone, right?
And there's also like, if you're going to have delegation of tasks, right? If you as the boss don't trust or agree or whatever word you want to use with what you're doing, with what that person's doing, I can see why you would not want them around. Now, again, this is kind of sudden and pretty close to the season and abrupt. But as far as like cohesiveness on a staff, if Dresser feels he can't trust or you know, is being undermined or whatever he may feel, then I kind of understand why he would want to do it. But you know, there's probably gonna be a lot of he said she said as Zadick starts looking for new jobs.
So Christian,
Yo,
sorry if I missed this in the original Dresser release, but what does it mean for the staff? Does everybody move up a rung?
that is what's happening. Everyone, St. John, I think, will be the associate head coach now. Metcalf will be, yeah.
St. John making that paper up.
St. John on the Benjamins now. Then Metcalf will slide up, and then now they're looking for a volunteer. But what's interesting and what leads me to believe this is not a wrestling room issue is Coach Dresser's release itself. There isn't a better guy to teach wrestling technique than Mike. But we had some significant differences of opinion, and it's best we part ways. That, to me, says this was outside of the training situation. My understanding is the team loves Zadick, the wrestlers love Zadick. Everyone trusts him to run the room there. So this is something outside of that, is how I read it based on both sides.
Okay, so Iowa State is going to look for an assistant, move everybody up. What does it mean for Zadick? You know, he took sort of a hiatus after Iowa. We were all sort of happy when he came back to Tech. Any word if he's going to head to the mountains or if he's going to look for a wrestling job? I'm
sure for in the meantime he's back in Montana. If I had to guess. Now, what does that mean for him long term? I don't know. It's gonna be tough. I don't even know what spots are available. I think he applied for the UTC job. And also, I wonder, you know, the interesting thing about this is if Zadick gets the UTC job, I wonder if, like, we never really – it's just like, oh, congratulations, Mike, kind of thing. And you don't even know that there was this huge blow-up that led to a termination. If they could have just, like – that probably would have been, you know, for Iowa State and Dresser a lot easier way to play it. But he didn't get the job. Congrats to Kyle Ruschell, who did get the job. Happy for him. But so that also is an interesting wrinkle as well. So I don't know where he can go. Who has even an assistant spot available? He may be kind of, you know, this is not a good time of year to get to lose your job.
Yeah, I mean, and we're probably gonna get to Ruschell in a little bit, but Kyle himself is gonna have trouble filling the staff, or you know, may just kind of have to go with.
Well, that would be interesting. What if he? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I could see Zadick in Chattanooga.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great fit.
Yeah, good town.
But yeah, it's my understanding as well that Zadick applied for that UTC head job. So,
well, I mean, Kyle Ruschell's the head coach of UTC, right?
Right, but we're saying he's got to fill his staff.
Okay, yeah.
And that could be a potential. So yeah,
does Zadick leaving impact anyone on the team?
That's what I was going to ask.
Will we see anyone leave?
So, fact. Gomez was flirting around with leaving. There was permission to contact forms. There was talks of a release. Austin Gomez has since decided he is staying at Iowa State, but there was a period of time there where there was uncertainty. So that would obviously have been a huge one, but he's staying, so that's good for Iowa State. I don't think, Carr's not going anywhere. I don't know who else would.
I mean, Deegan was a Zadick guy.
That's true. That's a good one. I don't know if he would or wouldn't, but definitely Deegan. I mean, he coached him in high school.
And even
He
just
transferred once.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Deegan already transferred once.
well,
Maybe it's the Downey clause.
well, and there's also just, I mean, will it impact? Deegan was their only qualifier last year, I believe. So will he?
That is insane.
will he
Round of
have?
12.
Yeah.
Ian Parker didn't qualify?
No, because he got
hurt.
banged up there
Oh,
at the
that's
end of the
right.
year, and then
He didn't really get a fair shake at qualifying. But, will Deegan be impacted, at least at the beginning of the year? Will he be kind of a little off for – I mean, I guess it's August, so he probably would have time to kind of shake off whatever funk he may have. But that's one that, some guys – and I'm not saying Deegan is necessarily these guys, but some guys under certain coaches are going to get closer to maxing out their potential than they are otherwise. And – Deegan being around 12 guy last year, maybe this year he can't quite reach that.
I think he's more likely to stay given the fact that he can't follow, well, one, the transfer difficulty that Willie alluded to, but two,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
But also it's like, Zadick's not anywhere, right? He's nowhere, There's nowhere that you can't follow him to the next spot, right? So for that reason, I think he probably stays. I know when they left, I won't even say that. So that's Iowa State. Anything else there?
Any names associated to the volunteer position, or who can we speculate? Who can we say, hey, that's a good fit there?
I mentioned on Twitter that they had reached out to Tony Ramos. Ramos not interested, not going, and I haven't heard of any other options apart from that one where they're going to look. Do they just move Kyvan onto staff just because he's there? Just kind of a simple thing, or do they just want to, pay him to train? I don't know who else you go after.
I would say it's less pressing.
Especially this late, right?
Yeah.
I would say it's less pressing because they still have a 3-man staff. If you're one of those schools where you just have a 3-man staff, or you don't have a volunteer, and you go down to 2, then you're like, we got to fill this, right? But being they have a 3-man, being that Kyvan is at least there in some capacity, able to help out. I know obviously there's kind of different rules when you're not officially on staff, but they have the body there. So I wouldn't be terribly surprised if they didn't fill it right now, but I definitely could see why they would want to.
Hunt it. So we'll see. More to come there on Iowa State. You got anything else, Will?
No. Just a shout out to Ruschell. We kind of alluded to it, or just briefly mentioned it, but he got the head job at UTC, and I think it was consensus among us that he was a good fit there, and we like that hire.
Yeah.
Can I do one final thing on Iowa State before I do want to get into Ruschell,
Sure.
but is Kevin Dresser going to be looked back on as one of the most interesting, influential, controversial, whatever word you want to use, coaches of this era? Bracky's talked about this before where, it was mentioned in a lot of the articles and media, like guys left the team, right, when he came on at Iowa State. But they left the team when he came on at Virginia Tech. That's something that's more common in other sports that you see when new coaches come on. He was a high school coach that turned around a program. He got two programs. He got a boatload of cash to go to Iowa State and kind of, in theory, raise the price tag on a lot of future head coaches going forward. He had whatever this is that happened with Zadick. So I'm just really fascinated to see how we look back on Kevin Dresser in 20, 30 years.
Yeah, when you think about it, it is a unique path. Kind of unprecedented trajectory in terms of, he was a national champion. I was a good wrestler, but there's 10 of those every year, right? That doesn't always correlate to coaching success. So I think his path, like you mentioned, high school to college is really interesting. The fact that he took a nothing program at Virginia Tech and made them a trophy team. Now, this is like the second chapter. I'll also view him a little. I think he's unique in just how he carries himself. He's outspoken. He says what he thinks 9 times out of 10. Whereas you get a lot of coach speak from a lot of other coaches.
Definitely.
Well, I think another thing is he makes it known that he's more of a CEO.
Yeah.
You know, he's not in there running every practice, running every workout. He is out there fundraising, recruiting, shaking hands with donors, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's not a lot of that in wrestling.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of, I mean, I think what, Dresser having the foresight to hand off as much as he did to Tony Roby for all those years, that ability to delegate is huge and a great sign of leadership, and that's what being a head coach is. And a lot of coaches, they want their hands in every single aspect, and they can't really let go of those portions. So I think that's one of Dresser's biggest skills, is his ability to kind of prioritize, execute, divvy up tasks, say, hey, I'm not best equipped to show high crotches and run the room and run practice, but I'm well equipped to do this, so I'll bring you and let you do that. I think now that happens, right? That's not unique to Coach Dresser, but I think it's not super common. I don't think it's I don't know if it's the norm. I know most head coaches probably don't run the room, but I think they're probably a little more involved in that aspect than maybe Dresser is. And maybe we're underselling how often Dresser's there as a practice influencer, but I don't think it's as much as some other coaches.
And to your point about him, letting Roby do a lot, it prepared Roby, and I think Virginia Tech is going to continue to be really good under him and achieve close to, if not even better, success than they had under Dresser. And obviously a lot of that's, set up, and, Roby came to a better situation than Dresser came into. But I have a lot of confidence in Roby, and I think a lot of that comes from learning and getting to do a lot under Dresser.
Yeah, Roby's a great coach. Can't say enough good things about him, the job that he's doing and will continue to do there. So, yeah, it's the story of Kevin Dresser still being written for sure. Mm-hmm. And, this Iowa State phase is going to be a really interesting part. Like, how does this – he's got a 7-year deal, I think. How does this work? How does this finish up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point that Dresser's a different kind of it's a very, very interesting thing from going to high school to building up a program that wasn't historically successful to moving to one of the traditional powers. I think they need to get back. This is a side note to the Zadick thing, but when Dresser got the job and KJ left, and you had like this exodus of recruits that left, right? So it's not really a good look, but it's understandable. Because you see that when coaches change. But then, okay, so Verclearen leaves and Allard leaves and this guy leaves. Okay, when the dust settles, now let's have some continuity. So to get rid of Zadick now, kind of the feathers get shuffled again, ruffled again. And he probably, nobody likes to do that. Nobody wants that sort of attention just a year after there's some instability. So I think for what's critical for Dresser and Iowa State is getting back and getting blue chip recruits, because it sends a message that high-profile kids believe in that system. High-profile kids are attracted to that place, to those facilities, to those coaches. And, a big part of Dresser's success at Virginia Tech was bringing in other Ohio kids. They got a ton of Ohio kids. They got PA kids. They got Jersey. What's that?
I said Jersey.
West Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah, PA, Jersey, Ohio. Now he's in a more traditional program, but geographically he's removed from that area. So I think that's one of the priorities for them, to get some recruits in there, and almost not just because they're better talents, are good talents, but also because it's a beacon that says all is well here.
Right. Yeah, no, recruiting will be huge. And, if he can turn around 2 programs in college, it would say a lot. But Iowa State's got a ways to go yet. That's Iowa State. I don't know what there is to say about Coach Ruschell other than it's cool he got the job after, kind of losing his job at Wisconsin when Bono comes in. We think highly of him. Willie once went off about him winning Pan Ams, but they mended. This relationship has come full circle now, from Willie being the #1 hater to him leading Willie's fantasy team.
You were a hater. Don't say you weren't.
Yeah, you were a hater.
What are you talking about?
When he won Pan Ams, you waged war on all things. You waged war in Kentucky.
That's false.
Do we need to go back and
do we need to pull up the tape?
Welcome back. I never hated Kyle Ruschell because he won Pan Am.
I'm reading a direct quote here. I hate Kyle Ruschell.
You guys realize what happened, right? Everything gets misconstrued on.
This was actually one of the most misconstrued things.
Listen, imagine this scenario. Wrestler X, who has not wrestled in 2 years, is going to move up to a weight class that Wrestler X has never wrestled in his life and wrestle at the second most important tournament for the United States of the year. Does that sound like something that should happen? Because that's what happened, and that's what I hated. Not the fact that Kyle
sounds like you hate Wrestler X.
Yeah. Well, maybe
Wrestler X has led my fantasy team to great heights.
Yeah.
Third
to great third place heights, which is maybe that's good for you. I don't know.
So I just want to again, we talked a lot about it, and some of the UTC job. I said last week where it's interesting. I think it's valuable anytime a head coaching job opens up that we at least talk about a little bit, because there's only 76 of them, and they kind of all can uniquely impact wrestling. I think Ruschell has a little added impact because of the Southern Scuffle. To be able to have some control over what is one of the most important events of the college season, I'm really excited and curious to see how he can build Scuffle back up. And in fact, later today, I'm gonna hop on a call with Coach Ruschell. I've emailed him some questions, and something I want to start trying to do if we can. And obviously, this is probably gonna be the last one for this year. But anytime there's a new head coach, that we kind of give them a platform to get their coaching philosophy out there and get their ideas out there. Particularly if we can't stick a camera in their face right away, because I imagine we're not going to see Coach Ruschell in person, any of us, for some number of months. So hopefully this kind of starts something that over the next few years that guys can get some information out and hopefully fans get some questions answered.
I think each episode you should each time that you interview a coach, look at Christian's face.
Uh-oh.
What? Go.
What? I think you should get their philosophy on math.
Oh, no.
Math's good?
No, don't resurface Nomad's math takes.
Math's good.
I don't want to talk about depth, international depth, but we might have to. There's some questions. I think the people want answers. But first, the question of Carson Kharchla.
Ooh.
Got his school list.
Yeah.
Interesting school list. A nice mix. Got a little UVA, a little NC State in there, a little ACC action, but you also have Oklahoma State, Ohio State, and Minnesota, the Gophers. So interesting school list. He's got Oklahoma State last, which I don't know what that means, but it may mean something. But it could also mean nothing.
It's so funny when kids give you school lists, because your first knee jerk is like, okay, Michigan's first, right? But oftentimes they go in no order, and they give you the list. And sometimes they say no order, and you know damn well that's
the order.
There's stuff in there. That's probably the order.
Wouldn't you think Ohio State would be higher on that list? Given, was his father ever on staff or something there, or Yeah. So I don't know. That would be kind of. I mean, I guess maybe the.
I mean, he trains at the RTC there.
Yeah.
Just like many kids train at their the closest colleges.
You know what I found interesting, and this is something that we started these prospect rankings, and I sometimes try to stress that they're probably the most important rankings. Like if Christian is the head coach of Virginia Tech, he could sign. I'll just use a name. He could sign. He needs a 57, right? He needs a 57 in a year or two. He could sign Bryce Andonian now, or he could wait and try to get wrestler X in the class of 2020 or 2021. What should I do? What's the most interesting prospect? Should I get Andonian now? How about in 2 years when I really need the 57? Will this kid be better when will this sophomore be better than what Andonian is now? I'm just using an example.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that people should I think college coaches should look at it this way and put up a depth chart and put up a projection so that they have the best kid. I mean, how many times did somebody sign wrestler X and then he was good but not great? And that's what you need at these elite programs. Now, that's a long way of saying Ohio State saw holes coming at 65 and 74, right? They saw that. They're very good at identifying needs. And I'm not saying that this is what happened, but you could imagine a scenario in which they got this guy. Maybe they got Kevon Freeman. Maybe they got this guy. Maybe they got that. And they gave him 15%, 20%, this. And maybe now they can't offer Kharchla
what he's entitled
60 or 70% because they got 3 guys tied up in scholarships in that range. So I'm not saying that.
I also am not sure it's a strong position of need. I mean, maybe it is. I mean, I just think you want to keep a guy that good in state, but I think they have a need at 57 that they're gonna have to address soon.
Yeah,
Jaden Maddox is gone. Off the roster, off the team, as far as I understand. So they're going to have...
Well, that might be a good thing. I mean, not a good thing, but it opens up money. Listen, they had money in the middle there. They had money tied up in Maddox, Easton Smith. They got Kevon Freeman. They had a lot of bodies in
Caleb
there.
Romero,
right? So I'm not saying any of them are bad. All I'm saying is
he's not saying they're good.
I'm not saying
he's not
that.
above it, he's not below it.
I'm saying it ties money up, and then a guy like Kharchla emerges, and you're like, man, I want that guy, but I don't have the funds. But, yeah.
The interesting one for me on this list, and we kind of knew that they were going after him, is Oklahoma State. And the reason that is interesting is because there's another young man from the class of 2020 who Kharchla teched in the Fargo finals by the name of Dustin Plott. Now, fundamentally, if you look at that, you go, all right, well, of course, you want the guy who won the match and won the match by a lot. But it's just interesting that a kid like Plott, who is one of the best recruits in the class 2020, which I feel is, as a whole, better than the class of 2019, and also considering the Cowboys don't lose in-state recruiting battles. It hasn't happened in a millennia. And so if Kharchla goes to Oklahoma State, where does Plott go to the Sooners, and does that start a shift in Oklahoma of guys not willing to go to Oklahoma State, or is this just an isolated thing and I'm thinking way too much into it? But I just think that one's really fascinating. I also think Minnesota is making a hard push, at least like on social media. I saw a lot of people that were really into him, and I think clearly from the quotes that Kharchla gave Willie that he is a loyal guy, and the coaches that were on him early and the ones that identified his talent before he had breakout performances are the ones that he's now visiting and paying attention to.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty awesome. I had the article completely done, and I thought, you know what? Let me see, because this is really interesting. This is a really interesting case, a classic case of a guy is good, ranked 6th in the country, recruited pretty well, goes to Fargo, blows up, and now his phone's gonna be off the hook. So I said, let's get it in his own words how it affected him. And he said, it just reinforced the schools that were on me before. I just looked at them harder because they were with me from the beginning.
They're day ones.
I think two of those schools, Ohio State and Oklahoma State, were definitely on him before Fargo.
Absolutely. So I don't think he ends up at Virginia or NC State, but NC State's gotten like 600 recruits the last couple of years. So I think it's between Ohio State, Minnesota, and Oklahoma State. I have only talked to Kharchla sparingly. Willie's talked to him a little bit more. And we haven't, Willie and I are doing this depth chart and recruiting targets article, and I still haven't done a deep dive into Ohio State, NC State, or Minnesota yet.
The thing that I like too, beyond his just wrestling ability, is character.
Yeah.
Kid's a first-class kid. Seems to have a really level head on his shoulders. So I don't think there's any risk of burnout or doing the wrong things. I think he's going to be around for a long time.
Cool. So
and he's going to be wrestling at Who's Number One.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So that's Carson Kharchla. And I guess he's going to take all his visits, so we won't have a quick turnaround like Abe Assad. But regardless, we'll find out.
Yeah, the Oklahoma State visit is about a month before signing day. So he's going to be, I would imagine, going to be pretty close to.
Did we talk about Assad?
Yes, on last episode. We sure did. That was like the all Iowa episode.
It was a very Iowa heavy episode.
Iowa heavy. So, okay, 141 tiers. We didn't get to do this last show because of Iowa, and then Iowa versus Penn State whiteboard war.
Break out your brass knuckles.
And then who knows what else. So 141, I haven't looked at this, right?
This one does
if
not.
You have Nick Lee in tier 2.
Okay,
this
so
one does not trigger
I want to
me.
do a better job of this.
It triggered me doing it.
Let me explain this. Okay, here's what we're doing. The Wrestling Nomad to my right takes a weight class, and he puts them into tiers. Like tier 1 for 125, for example, was like Spencer Lee, Nick Soriano, and whatever, even though those maybe not same weights, whatever. And then tier 2 would be like Sebastian Rivera. So they're just kind of like separated, right? So we did this for 141, and I'll start with reading the first 2 tiers, okay? Because I think that's a good way to begin this. All right, 141, number 1, Yanni D. Number 2, McKenna. Number 3, Ironman. That ends tier 1. So tier 1 is Yanni, McKenna, Ironman. Tier 2, Nick Lee, Tariq Wilson, Cade Brock, or Caden Gefeller, and Chad Red.
Yeah, I put the backups in there in case Wilson stays down at 33.
Jamel Morris would totally be tier 2 at this weight.
Yeah. Just including the backs just in case. But, okay, so tier 1, any weight where tier 1 is should basically be, these are the guys that can win a national title. I think that's pretty clear. Tier 2 is completely malleable for every weight class in terms of what it can be. At 125, if Soriano and Fix don't go 125, tier 2 is basically who could possibly be in the finals against Spencer Lee.
There's a lot of people.
Right. In this weight where I think there's a more solid top 3 of Yanni, McKenna, Ironman, tier 2 is more who are the guys who I feel comfortable saying should be All-Americans. And I changed this like 80 times.
Got it. Well, I'm not I don't know. I'm not terribly bothered. I think Nick Lee is the one. I could put him in tier 1, and if you had put him in there, I'd be like, I can see that based on trajectory, based on how he finished the year, based on he beat Kevin Jack, who was certainly tier 1 going into NCAAs. He looked outstanding.
He did have a tight one. He had a good match with McKenna.
Yeah, I mean the one at Penn State, he was right there with him. Now I think McKenna's better. But, true freshman, room to improve, that room, his motor, his skill set, his work ethic. I could see him. I mean, Nick Lee versus Jaden Ironman's a thing. I think that's maybe a tougher matchup than McKenna is, personally.
Ironman majored him at NCAAs.
Well, there you go. I should probably know that off the top of my head, but you pulled it up.
I pulled it up because I wanted to see who he lost to on the backside after All-American, because he beat Jack for 5th and 6th.
Right.
So I knew he lost someone else, and I couldn't remember, so that's why I pulled it up.
So he lost to Deal and Ironman. Interesting. So, okay. Tier 2, I think, looks fine. Tier 1, I think, looks fine. What do you guys think? Kyle I thought you were triggered.
No, I said I'm not triggered by this.
Yeah, this is, I don't know why you're upset.
Because I spent so much time on it that I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
You could make an argument, I guess, maybe for Mitch McKee in Tier 2. It's been right there with Cade Brock.
Yeah.
Gotta imagine a match with Chad Red's going to be really close.
Yeah, I would put him up. But compared to the 133 ones with DeSanto and Tier 9, when he'd beaten like half of Tier 1, that was pretty bad.
Austin Gomez ahead of him?
Yeah, Austin Gomez. That was silly.
Why don't we read? Did we read through all the first 2 tiers?
I did. So
and then
why don't you read 3 and 4?
So let me just pick out a couple of guys beyond that I think could be high. I think Max Murin could be higher. I mean, you have him in Tier 4.
You never know what you're going to get with your Murin takes. You are all over the map.
Why? What did I say about Murin? Did I say something bad about Murin?
You were kind of cool on him when we were like, yeah, he's their 49 of the future. Like, this is a need for them. But you're.
Oh, when I was doing targets, yeah. I mean, I would look for a 49. Not that I think that Murin can't be great, just that we don't know yet. And I certainly like him at 41 more than I like him at 49. Yeah. So, okay. But I think he can. Certainly, you have him in Tier 4 here. I certainly think he can get to 3 or 2 even. I would take him over most of the guys in Tier 3. I would take him over Mason Smith. I'd take him over Josh Albert.
I'd take him over Sadarian Perry.
Sadarian Perry, who entered NCAAs with a losing record.
Straight branched it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that Murin could go higher. I think honestly, Tier 3 could be pretty big, because I could see Murin in there. Actually, maybe not.
So Murin was 15-3 last year. His losses were to Cole Martin of Wisconsin, Colton Schilling of Cal Poly, and Tyler Smith of Bucknell. He beat guys like Yaya Thomas. He beat Pat Darcy. He beat Mikey Carr, who for pretty much all the year was great. Beat Colby Smith, Carter Happel a couple times.
Pretty solid wins.
Yeah.
That was the only other guy. Yaya in Tier 5, I think, can move up. Actually, I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make of Dom Demas.
Well, you have.
I'm also not sure.
Yeah,
okay, so
why wouldn't he go 33?
Well,
I made a note of this because I wanted to ask somebody after the show. Nomad discovered this last week.
Literal was okay. So when I was doing between redshirt reports and the FRL tiers, I've been trying to compile a list of who could possibly start for a lot of these teams, and with roster battles and all. And I did not see Tanner Luttrell on Oklahoma's roster, and they have it updated for 18-19. I have no inside information on the matter. I don't know if it was just maybe an oversight, or they wait for his picture or something. I don't know, but he's not on the roster. So take from that what you will.
I would take that he's not on the team.
I liked him a lot in high school.
Yeah, me too.
Man, that's too bad. Not good.
Yeah, and Demas, I seem to remember hearing that he was going to go 41 for them, and he was 65 kilos, so that's what more of the 41 guys though. But he's listed at 49. I think he's obviously much more suited for freestyle and Greco, but definitely a guy who can win matches and possibly qualify at 41. That seems very reasonable.
He's one I have no idea.
Have we heard anything definitive? I mean, yes, he's shined brighter in freestyle and Greco than Folk, but he would be a nice guy to follow in the Sooner lineup. But did anybody hear anything weight-wise definitively? 41, 49? No.
Nomad's saying he heard 41.
I heard 41, but he's listed at 49 on the roster.
Sneaky.
So.
All right, so 41, not actually that saucy.
Okay, Mason Smith was really hard about where to put him because he won Midlands last year. He was highly ranked the whole time. But number one, he's at a new school, which I think Arizona State's better than Central Michigan. But when a kid changes school, it's like, well,
so you can know where all the buildings are,
right? And in 2 tries at NCAA's, he has 2.5 points, which is less than Ryan Deal and the same as Henry Pohlmeyer.
Hank. I like to call him Hank Pohlmeyer.
Yeah.
Sounds like a guy that would have a nice sandwich shop.
Yeah. I like Henry Pohlmeyer. That kid works.
Or a deli.
Mikey Carr was another one.
Palmer.
I thought Mikey Carr was awesome last year, and we talked about him beating Nick Lee, but then didn't do so hot at NCAA's. So, and then Josh Albert, Josh Albert went 0. Josh Albert and Cedarian Perry are the really interesting ones because Josh Albert went 0-2 at NCAA's. Well, he lost to Cedarian Perry, who AA'd, and Nick Lee, who AA'd. So
yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know.
And then what do you do with Perry?
I don't remember the numbers that you had in tiers at 25 and 33, but it's sort of interesting here. In tier 1 and tier 2 combined, there's only 7 guys. So
that's about what it's been.
What's that?
That's about what it's been.
About what it's been.
Yeah.
Somebody in tier 3 is an AA, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think that's 141.
Wow, really? I was really waiting for the Nomad you suck takes to pop off with
this. You did fine. This is so much better than 33.
You did that over Twitter, I think, over the weekend.
Yeah. Still minimum 18 minutes.
Yeah. We're coming up on the time. All right. Here's a good one. We're going to questions right now. 8:42 Central, Austin, Texas. Let's get it. Straight up, this is Josh Thornton at Josh_of_Rumford. Straight up Freaky Friday. Nomad wakes up in Spencer Lee's body. Does he win a national championship or blow it? You woke up sea breezy.
Yeah, no, if so I assume the question is my mental in Spencer Lee's body. I'm going to say no. However, it would be really awesome to be as strong as that kid for a day.
It would be, I think the same thing.
You would blow it.
Yeah, no, that's
1,000%.
Because
as good as Spencer Lee is physically,
I'm gonna say this:
there is a strong mental component to where he is, and I do not think that his physical gifts are so much so that if you just put me in his body, that I would then inherently be able to take out the likes of Nick Sirianno and Dave.
Let me take it a leg further.
It's your brain.
I'm gonna take it a leg further. Nomad would not qualify for NCAAs in Spencer Lee's body.
No, I don't think that's. I disagree with that.
I worked this scenario out. You know how Nomad works out a scenario where he thinks that, okay, 47 seconds in, Sedgelayev takes a shot. Snyder down block. I worked this scenario out, and in this scenario, he wakes up on the last day of NCAAs for the finals
and loses his credential.
He's in Spencer Lee's body. Hey, you're on to something. Nomad wakes up. He irons his socks because that's what he does. He looks in the mirror. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm Spencer Lee." First thing he thinks is, "I'm French. His mother's French. My mother's French. I'm going to the coffee shop and getting a croissant." He goes and gets a croissant, leaves his credential in the hotel room. Shows up late for weigh-ins. He doesn't wrestle the final.
Also, apparently, I can eat a croissant and still make weight, so that's favorable.
Yeah, I just think, just having someone's physical tools, so much of it is
I do think I would.
You think you would qualify for NCAAs?
I do think I would qualify.
I do not.
I do think because if I had those physical tools and if I had worked for those physical tools, I also think that my mindset would be different and that I would feel more comfortable, and that I would approach things and attack things in a different way. However, as I never even put myself in a position to where I worked hard enough to do that, I have never conceptualized myself in this situation.
Therein lies the problem.
Therein lies the problem. I'll say this too. I'll raise my hand. I can own. I would not qualify for NCAAs with Spencer Lee's body. Okay, wouldn't happen. And I think the same is true for you.
I don't know. I still think you would. I think you're underrating. Well, okay. The other question is, because he said straight up Freaky Friday. Are we talking about the Friday of NCAAs? Are we talking about the Friday before the season? Where does this situation start?
All right, there it was, 8:45.
What? That's not a legitimate question?
I don't believe so.
I do.
I don't understand the question.
What do you mean you don't understand the question?
He's saying, is this the Friday of NCAAs, of Big Tens, of the beginning of the season?
He's asking if he wins a national championship.
I know, but he's saying...
Yeah, but winning a national championship, come on.
If
Winning a national championship doesn't start
if
at
Nomad
NCAAs.
if Nomad gets all season in Spencer Lee's body, can he do it?
Yeah.
Or if he just wakes up and it's Friday NCAAs and he's just thrown into the fire.
If it's Friday NCAAs, the answer is certainly not. If the answer is Friday before the season, the answer is still probably not, but it's a little bit more likely.
If you get to do the Iowa City duels, that could get some real momentum going.
Yeah.
Because remember when that used to be like a 5-team duel and none of them were D1? One time they went like 50-0 with like all but like 3 bonus point wins. It was just an absolute slaughter. So if you had some of those Iowa City duels,
I feel myself.
What if Nomad goes to weigh in Spencer Lee's body and he fails skin check because he breaks out in what he calls...
Oh my God.
That's going to happen. Well, theoretically, that wouldn't happen because he has his body, and Spencer Lee doesn't have some weird skin condition that happens in the sun for some reason. It's sun. Nomad has.
Spencer Lee doesn't have retractable ringworm.
Sun-activated ringworm is what Nomad claims he has.
So as long as NCAAs that year wasn't in South Beach.
Yes.
Yeah.
He'd be fine.
St. Thomas Aquinas High School.
All right. Brian Walters at Wally's Voice. What would you consider an elite recruit, and how many do you need to win an NCAA championship as a team?
No, why?
Why what?
What? Wow. What sort of
all the questions
reaction
we
is that?
answer, this is the one.
First of all, this is a bad question. Second of all, I am upset that you chose a Brian Walters question.
Why?
He was the only guy continuing that silly Nomad argument about math.
Oh shoot, I didn't know that. I was I didn't get to do the full.
Are you that upset with this question?
Well, here's the part I liked.
I'm not upset that you guys figured out that 10 weights cost more money than 8, and then had an argument about it.
Hold on, that's not the question. So I think it's interesting.
What is an elite recruit? Come on, Plato. I mean, why are you philosophizing? What is an elite recruit? They're like top 10 guys.
No, but that's a...
Well, when I read it, I kind of like, what do you look for in an elite recruit? So there's a lot of elite guys. Maybe that's not what he said, but that's how I took it. So I can, fine. We'll skip it. You know what, Willie? Fine.
That was really mean, Willie.
All right, Christian,
I was really looking forward to that.
No, Willie just can't answer this question.
I was really looking forward to this
Yeah, fine.
question.
Don't answer it.
You're not allowed to answer. You sit there quietly and think about what you did.
Yep.
LJ, mute him.
Yeah, let me just...
LJ, cut his mic.
Cut his mic.
LJ, cut his mic.
What does Christian consider an elite recruit?
I consider, I think something you could look for, you don't want to just simply look at the wins, the losses, how much they compete. You've got to get to know the guy, and I think the strongest correlation is the kids that actually, if you can somehow figure out, does this kid actually love this? Does he love this? Kyle Snyder loves this. Those Penn State guys love it.
Yanni loves it.
They love it. It's not a thing they do. They
don't do it because they're good at it.
No. They freaking love it. And with that comes all the success, in my opinion. There's some other things to look for, but that, to me, there's a threshold of, like, what you've accomplished as a wrestler. But to me, if you find the kids that truly love it and will do what it takes to win, that's the most important thing. That and how good are you at getting the legs? That's something I look at a lot. I think that's very important.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I like getting to the legs. I think...
how many do you need to win a title?
Well, it's a good question. Look, why is that not... That's a great question, Willie. How many did Penn State need last year? How many elite recruits did they have? I think it's fair. Can you do it? Can you win it with 3 elite recruits? They had... Nick Lee.
I think the magic number's 4.
Well, Penn State had way more than 4. They had Nick Lee, Zane Rutherford,
You can have
Jason Nolf, Vincenzo Joseph, Mark Hall, Bo Nickel, and Nick. They had 7. They had 7 unquestionably elite recruits.
How many elite recruits does it take to beat Penn State?
Sounds like 8.
Yeah.
8.
This gets
Sounds like an entire lineup.
Sounds like you're needing the 10 range.
Christian's point gets to. I still don't know how to explain this or display it, but it's something along the lines of point of diminishing returns of your team, and essentially, as best as I can explain it, a lot of teams can have a 1 that can, not a lot, but there's a good number of teams that can have a 1 that can score 25 team points. That's awesome. There's a smaller number of teams that can have a number 2 that scores 23 or 24 team points. What is insane about Penn State is that their 3s and their 4s can score 20, 22, 24 team points. And not only do they reach that level, they start at that level. So Penn State kind of has guys start up here and it kind of goes down, and other teams kind of go like this. So they already start higher, and then they get them to achieve a higher level. And so every other team's 2 is like worse than Penn State's 3. And it just craters quickly. And so it is really hard to match that. And that is a way oversimplification. There's a lot of stuff that goes into what makes teams great. But, like, if you're looking at the after effect instead of, like, the what goes into it, that's what it looks like.
Boom. Keep
But
your thoughts,
the
keep your
magic
thoughts
answer
to
is
yourself,
4.
Willie.
Thanks for the good question, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate the question. Sorry, Willie's the biggest hater of them all. Could Logan Paul turn Bradkey?
Listen, hold on. Listen.
That question.
Logan Paul, come on.
Listen, hold on.
I laughed out loud.
We don't have history, but we have history. Okay? This dude was at OU when I was there.
He went
Did
to
you punch
OU?
him?
For 1 year.
He went to OU.
For 1 year.
Oh, my God.
Was the low gang a thing then?
No, it was not. He was like Vine famous at that point, but he was not like has the traction he has now. And then he like left OU to like do whatever
You say he does.
Tool things he's doing now. But no, Christian has a better chance of turning me than Logan Paul.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would turn you if given the right amount
Although
of
I
time.
think Logan Paul has better credentials than Christian.
In wrestling?
He was like an Ohio State placer. Yeah.
Oh, well, then he has a better
But no,
chance of
he's
turning
not.
you.
No, he's not. No, you do.
He's a
Really? Wow.
What?
Did you ever punch him? Did you ever punch him?
I never saw him on campus, but I would have liked to punch him.
So you think I could have placed at Ohio State?
Superman
That's
punch.
what you're saying.
No, but I just have that little respect for the man.
Wow. Okay, y'all take the next question. Who you like?
Let's do Gerard Garnett, North
Read it.
Dakota State assistant coach. Who are your breakout teams and individuals for the 18-19 season that will make huge improvements from the prior season or surprise people? Feel like he is fishing here.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
That's
Gerard-
his right though. If he's that confident in his team, he has the right
No,
to.
he's
to ask
not
that question.
fishing. Gerard frequently asks questions.
No, I know he does, but obviously he wants us to say North Dakota State.
All right. Well, I'm not there yet.
Well, if Brandon Metz wins a national title that Nomad thinks he will, then sure. North
Yeah,
Dakota State.
I think he's the Gable Slayer. No, well, the reason I was asking about Travis Stefanik is because I'm really interested in Princeton coming into this year.
Sidebar: Christian asked about Travis Stefanik before the show started.
Right. Yeah, none of you guys know that except you four. So I'm curious about Princeton. I really like them. Obviously, they have Kolodzik. They're going to have Glory coming in. You know, Stefanik, Parker. They're gonna have some guys. Brucky. There's a Brucky in the mix. So
I like Brucky.
I think that could be an interesting team that come NCAAs, and maybe it's not this year, but next year for them. Glory a little more seasoned. Those other recruits a little more seasoned. Stefanik, etc. Then I think you could see them maybe they get 3 guys on the podium. If you get 3 guys on the podium and Kolodzik's a champ or places high, you're in the fight for top 10, right?
Well, and even this year, Pat Darcy and Mike D'Angelo, the D apostrophe boys, are
They need to get that on a shirt.
That is awesome.
The D apostrophe.
no, but those like
boys.
But like those guys are qualifiers, right? And so yes, okay, Patrick Glory probably has designs on much more than just qualifying for NCAAs. You know, obviously like All-American winning, but to have that kind of senior leadership of guys who have done it, who have been in the program, and then obviously have Colo there, like what Coach Ayers and his staff are doing is now they're establishing a point where even the guys that we don't necessarily talk about, the maybe 4th, 5th, 6th best guys, are still qualifying and still able to score points.
Yeah, I agree
and
there.
that kind of pushes everybody up.
They've done an excellent job both coaching and recruiting, where I think that the entire level of the program has risen.
Yeah.
Right? Even they're not stars are still – they're much more solid than they were a decade ago.
So that was mine. Who you guys got? No steals.
I'm kind of curious doing these redshirt reports and these tiers in the Fighting Greenleys.
Oh.
I was going to mention them. It's very biased, but one qualifier last year in Cam Kelly. But you get Kelly back. You get Shakur Laney back.
If Shakur Laney placed this year, that would not blow my mind.
Both Hagen brothers and Guillen brothers in there fighting for spots. And then you get Zach Carson from EMU. And then Zach Parker at heavyweight has qualified before. And so you're looking at, I mean, maybe 6 qualifiers with a shot at an All-American or 2 in Laney and Cam Kelly.
And you're looking at a conference that isn't as strong as it's been in the past. And so it might be a little, you know, if you kind of establish yourself as the number 2 team behind Missouri, it might be a little easier to get some guys in. And who knows? Once you get guys in, who knows what can happen. I'm not saying – yeah.
Willie, do you have one?
I have a couple.
Nebraska, Bloomsburg, Wyoming, all the schools I went to.
Kansas State.
I think Fresno State and Lock Haven continue to get better. I think Lock Haven, much like I said, Princeton, the level of that room has gotten better. Everybody in the lineup has gotten better. The ship's in the right direction. I think Fresno State in their second year gets better. But the team that I think that's going to be more formidable, I don't know if this counts as a surprise, but or a breakout, but I think North Carolina is going to have a much better year than I think a lot of – I think Coleman and Tony and those guys down there have a program and a system and a level of accountability and a work ethic that their whole roster improves. And you see that in competition where all 10 of their guys are tougher outs than they used to be, and they have guys break through. They have more guys break through as stars.
I'll say one that I will be disappointed if they don't have a better year this year. The Schwab Mob.
Yeah.
Panther Train.
Well, we had a similar question to this a while ago, and I mentioned them. I didn't want to mention them again, but I completely agree. They definitely have potential to get in the top 10, maybe threaten the top 6 or 8 if things go right. They've got a lot of talent. Really like them this year. Curious to see what they can do. Next question. This is a good one, and I don't know the answer. I'm hoping someone else might. This one might be tough to beat. DT recently posted a picture of him versus Logan, David Taylor versus Logan Stieber in 06 Ironman. Got me thinking, what are some of the most credentialed high school matches in hindsight? Example, that match had 6 NCAA titles, 8 NCAA finals, 8 AAs, 4 world teams, 1 world title, and still going. Beat that one, right?
It hasn't now, and I don't think it may necessarily, but
I could give you,
Dayton Yanni.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Just Dayton Yanni Flonats has that kind of potential.
Yeah, it has that kind of potential. I can give you one that has 6 and 8.
Give it.
Oh, about 8 finals.
Well, what is it?
Snyder Cox.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Happened 4 different times in Fargo.
That was a good one. Yeah, I mean, what about Dayton Spencer?
Yeah,
I
true.
mean, you said Dayton Yanni. Spencer's more credentialed than Yanni.
Yeah, I guess because I'm just thinking those two are gonna
Dayton beat in high school.
cannibalize each
Dayton
other.
beat Yanni, Spencer, and Suriano.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty impressive.
among others.
But I don't know. 6 and 8. Is there another one out there with that?
I forget when Dayton beat Suriano. Refresh my memory.
Akron.
Akron.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 1-0. Oh my gosh, I've tried to erase that match from my memory.
It was so boring.
Well, even Dayton Suriano, by the time they're both done too, like that's going to be another ridiculously credentialed high school match.
Suriano gets screwed because he lost a year.
Yeah,
That's like it's like Metcalf Slater.
And Suriano Spencer
like,
Lee. It
yeah.
just keeps.
yeah. There's so many.
Yeah.
It's such a sick class.
But that's like Metcalf Slater, right? Like Metcalf lost a year, so obviously still incredibly credentialed, and then Slater got hurt. But
You know what was a good one? And it won't approach this. I mean, I don't think you're not going to find 6 and 8, but Nolf and McKenna. Now they don't have the titles, but man, they're in everything, right? No, I mean Nolf is Nolf, and McKenna's in everything, makes world teams and stuff like that.
that's a good one.
That is a good one. It's a good question from, I didn't say who it was from. It was from Michael Wilkins at MWilkins12. Very good one.
Oh, what about Zahid and Miles Martin?
Ooh.
Yeah, Zahid Miles is nasty. Miles, well, he's got 2 finals trips, 3 for 3 in terms of placing.
And
He's
the
a
chip.
champion. He got a chip. Zahid's, he may have 1 loss when it's all said and done. That'll be a nasty one. It's going to be tough to eclipse Logan Taylor. That is absurd.
And even at the time, it seemed like it was gonna be like that.
Bo Nickel and Mark Hall,
Yep.
Yeah.
they could get 6 and 8.
They got some chips.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what one was the classic one? I mean, I'm trying to think back longer. Metcalf and Slater. Now, Slater's career didn't turn out. Did you guys say that already?
Yeah.
Nomad mentioned it.
I didn't hear it. Did you guys say? And the other big one before that, of course, it didn't turn out, but this like mega match was J.O. and Grajales in high school.
Yeah. They wrestled at Super 32.
J.O. wrestled McDonough in the Dream Team
Oh my
Classic,
gosh.
so that's 4 titles
Don't bring that up.
and
That
6
was-
finals.
It's not good.
That was
J.O. smoked him.
that was bully beatdown
Yeah.
in Iowa. Disrespectful. Yeah, that was sick.
Hey, I like this one when we predict the schools.
Okay. School predictions for the 4 guys who had lists come out recently: Balmaceda, Davenport, Lovett, Kharchla. NC State is a common denominator on all 4 lists. Asks at NCSU WFPS. Big abbreviations guy. He's an NC State Wolfpack fan. So I don't know. I don't have a good pulse. I think Willie, you guys may have a better idea than I would. But start with Balmaceda.
There's a couple common denominators in these schools. Okay, so Balmaceda, Lovett, and Kharchla all have Okie State, as he said. NCSU WFBS. They all have NC State. Balmaceda, Lovett, Kharchla, all Okie State. Lovett, Davenport, both Nebraska. I think that's the overlaps. I think Balmaceda has Iowa. I think he's the only one with Iowa on there.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know how much Iowa has left in the bank. They signed a boatload of guys recently, and a combination of maybe how much do they have left and how much do they need a 57. But Balmaceda, I don't know. I can't get a read on Balmaceda. I think it's probably NC State or Iowa. Nomad, who you going for Balmaceda?
I was just thinking Balmaceda is probably going to be the hardest. Here's what I know about Brevin Balmaceda. His dad's an excellent coach, and he's best friends with Julian Ramirez. That gives me no hints as to the list that he gave. I'm going to guess Virginia Tech.
I feel like he's a Tech guy, too. I don't know why. I have no insight.
Let's go Hokies.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. I'm not sure. I've talked to his father fairly often recently because of who's number one.
Great
and
catch.
I think he could go a lot of different directions. Davenport, I will go Nebraska.
I know. I don't know, actually. But I do. I talked to Kevon quite a bit.
Oh.
I'm going to say he stays in-state, Michigan, but I think Nebraska will get a very hard look. As they
I'll tell
Just
you,
because Sean Bormet sent you a really nice shirt,
And you're wearing it right now?
and you're wearing it right now.
No, I think
Unrelated.
Kevon's going to stay in-state.
I'll say Nebraska.
I'll tell you what's a really weird. Christian, who you got?
No, I have no idea. I don't talk to him.
Good
I'll
take.
tell you what's a really weird
Don't talk to me
dynamic
either.
that's going on right now in recruiting. Why are you laughing?
Hold on, I want to hear this. This
Go,
this
Talk,
is gonna be
Willie.
interesting.
talk, buddy.
Well, Gigglebox is over here. Davenport, I love. I mean, everybody at Flow has loved him for a long time, right? You have to, and I know me and Nomad has projected him to move up in weights for a long time. If he's a 49, cool. I think everybody thinks he has a frame for 57, and it's a really touchy thing. College coaches and a lot of programs are having a problem on how to approach this because Cam Amin is the truth, and you have two guys from the same high school
Same
that
team.
might be the same weight in college.
Yep.
So do you say, hey, Cam, I like you. Hey, Kevon, I like you. And then you have Kevon and Cam going, well, who do you like? Who do you really like?
Yeah.
Right, they're
Do you
talking to each
like
other
like me?
every day.
Right. So that's going on in a couple programs.
Interesting.
I think
But-
Lovett goes to Nebraska.
I thought so too. I'll say Nebraska for Lovett as well, and I'll say Okie State for Kharchla.
I'll say NC State for Lovett and Oklahoma State for Kharchla.
I don't think. I think Tom Ryan is building a wall around the state of
I kinda
Ohio.
I'm going to Ohio State for Kharchla.
Not even the state of Ohio, the city of Columbus. He is in Columbus.
Yeah, I kind of think that too. I might pull that back.
I'm going Ohio
Sticking
State.
with it.
I don't know. It just in my head.
Bracky loves the Cowboys.
In my head, it makes too much
Just seems
sense.
like a good fit.
No, he'd do great
Yeah.
there.
In my head,
Would
it
be a
makes
good
too much sense for Kharchla to stay in Ohio and Plot to stay in Oklahoma. Obviously, they can do whatever they want. I think they're both going to be awesome in college. I hope they wrestle a lot in college, but that's just where my head's at.
Okay. Well, I think unless there's any questions you're just dying to address, I think we could call it a show. So with that, feel free, Mr. LJ Helbig, two-time NCAA qualifier for the Wyoming Cowboys. Feel free to play our outro music.
Who's number one on the show tomorrow? 10:30 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah, Nomad's got to get his plugs in. Get your plugs going, buddy.
That's
What's
all.
your IG handle?
Yeah, at the Wrestling
Yeah, it's
Nomad.
at the Wrestling Nomad.
Don't forget
I don't
the
use
the.
it that much. Oh, this was interesting. Iranian Pro League, Yazdani Tiradi, Sejlayev, Akul, Kinchigishvili might all wrestle in it. Not something we really need to discuss on FRL.
the
just
same
an
weight?
Just an interesting. Yeah, Kinchigishvili's going 86 kilos.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'll be sick, man.
Just an interesting point.
Okay. So that's it. We will be back Thursday for FRL.
Oh yeah, this was the Western Nebraska area code episode.
Oh,
We
yes.
didn't get that in.
Shout out. And then who's the Henrik kid that committed? Want to mention that? I don't know if we've
John
posted-
Wayne.
John Wayne.
John Wayne Henrik to Nebraska. Great name. Good luck to him at Nebraska. And we will be back Thursday, come heck or high water, for episode 309, which we'll figure out what area code that is. But we're not going to share it yet.
Nope.
That's a surprise. Don't
This is
look it
called
up.
This is called working ahead.
Yeah. Nomad's looking it up now. Oh, wow. Good one. Good one coming up here. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you to ASICS for your support of Flow Wrestling Radio Live and wrestling in general. We'll be back Thursday. See you then. Thanks.